Sorry, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Diversity UK event today. In this splendid venue, the Speaker's House, we are extremely grateful to the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Right Honourable John Bercow, for allowing us the use of this glorious location. It's particularly pleasing to me that we're celebrating Diversity UK's 4th birthday with the inaugural Paul Stephenson Lecture, to be given by Helen Grant MP, who will talk to us about race and diversity in a post-Brexit Britain. I'm really thrilled that we are joined today by Paul Stephenson and his family, so welcome, sir. And before we talk about Mr. Stephenson, I would just like to say a few words about Helen. Helen is a lady of many firsts. She was elected to represent the parliamentary constituency of Maidstone and the Weald on 5th of May 2010, making her the first black woman Conservative MP. Helen is very much a role model and a champion of diversity and inclusion. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Helen Grant MP.
Well, good evening everyone, and thank you very much indeed for that introduction. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. It really is a great honour to be here tonight and to have been asked to deliver this Paul Stephenson lecture. I was just a little baby when Paul was making his great stand, and his courage and bravery certainly paved the way for me and for many of us in this room to pursue our own hopes and dreams. On the 23rd of June this year, the night of the EU referendum, I'd stayed up watching the results come in with my husband and my son. When we went to bed at around 4:30 a.m, I knew that we would be leaving the EU. When I woke up later that morning, it was to see and hear the Prime Minister on TV with his wife standing next to him, announcing his resignation. He looked shattered, in shock, exhausted. I felt rather empty, and I also got that strange feeling that you get when you know that you've lost something. The campaign itself, in my opinion, had been a complete disgrace. It was the worst that I have ever seen. Instead of focusing on jobs and skills and growth and new trade deals, it focused almost completely on the emotive subject of immigration. Messages of hate and division were put out by lead campaigners on a daily basis. And you know, I can still hear them ranting on, and it was around, about taking back control, claiming back our country, an Independence Day. And it wasn't just what was said, it was the way in which it was said. And that was often with so much venom. Temperatures were raised even further by many in the media. They fanned the flames in their coverage, often completely excusing the inexcusable. For me, things came to a head in the last week of the campaign, with a brutal shooting and stabbing of a young female MP, Jo Cox. She was a wife, and she was a mother of 2 small children, and she was actually a rising star, I believe, in the Labour Party. I can see Chi sitting here and nodding her head as well, one of her colleagues. The perpetrator, at the time of the attack, was allegedly heard to have said Britain first. They are a hard right-wing political group. Later in court he said, "Death to traitors, freedom for Britain." The murder was seen as political, And although the campaigning was suspended for a few days, I honestly felt that when it started up again, it was even worse than it was before. At around the same time, Nigel Farage unveiled a new poster. It was entitled Breaking Point, and it showed a long line of Syrian refugees literally tacking towards Britain. It was intended to show immigrants as parasites who will take from our country rather than enhancing it. It played especially on the genuine concerns of some communities that need to constantly fight for resources. And it tried to blame migrants for all the problems that come with poor economic conditions, austerity, and continued social and economic inequality. Since the referendum, not surprisingly, there has been a dramatic increase in hate crime. 85% of this is race-related. And sadly, in the last few months, I have heard and seen more reports of the use of the N-word than I have literally in the last 30 years. Although we all know prejudice and bigotry existed prior to the referendum, it's as if the campaign and the result has in some ways legitimised xenophobia, racism, and hate speak. For decades now, government's approach in dealing with these issues has been patchy, to say the least. My own hopes had been raised just prior to the 2015 general election, when our Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, openly recognised that you can't have real equality without real opportunity. He also recognised that you needed and he wanted to end discrimination. Later, he set out a vision that by 2020, jobs, including jobs in the police and in the army, apprenticeships, university attendance, and business loans for people from black and minority ethnic communities would increase by 20%. To be really honest with you, the vision, for my liking, was a bit too campaign orientated. It had lots of strap lines in it, like 20% by 2020. And as a result, it was not as responsive to true need as it could and should have been. But you know, it was a great start. And it was a great start because it was coming from the very top. It was coming from the top of government, from the Prime Minister, and he seemed truly committed. Reviews were also announced that would look at black and minority ethnic progression in the labour market, on company boards, and the relationship with the criminal justice system. A more general review looking at integration and opportunity was also started. So far, only a very few of the review groups have reported. And we also need to see if our new Prime Minister, Theresa May, will continue to build on our former Prime Minister's vision, or whether she will actually come up with her own vision. She's recently announced an audit into racial inequality in the public sector, which may, of course, be a sign of good things to come. But we will have to wait and see. But whatever I do think, and whatever does happen, I know that whatever action and direction we do go in, there are some fundamental issues that must be addressed. Firstly, politicians need to work much harder to rebuild trust with the black and minority ethnic community. Relations weren't great before the EU referendum. but I think the damage done during the referendum campaign should not be underestimated. Also, as government implements our exiting of the EU, great care must be taken to ensure that this is not at the expense of our national identity and our values. Values such as diversity, inclusion, multicultural and equality. All the things that have helped to make Britain great, and one of the ways that we've become more diverse and outward looking. And these are all the things that have helped me and others in this room to get on our way. In rebuilding this trust, I feel that ministers need to embark on a national listening exercise. They need to spend much more time away from this Westminster bubble, in communities, and this will enable them to be far more visible and effective in understanding and addressing the often justifiable tensions that exist. Because, you know, not everyone that complains about immigration is a racist, but also racism does exist, and it is very much alive and kicking above and below the radar. I've got the most awful flu and cold, so please forgive me. I've got to say something for coughing and spluttering. Bear with me, I will get through this. And I'm so enjoying talking to you, but forgive my throat. Second, too much of what our government is doing today in terms of cohesion and integration has become completely intertwined with counter-terrorism and extremism policy. Both are important, both very different. Efforts have been made, of course, to create some clear demarcation at central government level. The Home Office have taken responsibility for counter-terrorism and extremism strategy known as PREVENT. The Department for Communities and Local Government are responsible for cohesion and integration. But in practice, conflation is still happening on the ground because it's in many local authorities, it's the same people applying for funding and delivering the PREVENT projects as it is the cohesion and integration projects. Unfortunately, the resulting suspicions, scepticism, and local securitisation are undermining both policy areas. And because of the failure to win both hearts and minds, both of these aspirations are failing. Cohesion and integration have huge benefits in their own right. Stronger communities, more tolerance, more participation. But we need re-energised focus, policy and leadership coming out of our communities department, and no more sidelining by the Home Office. And on this I do want to say that I think Sajid Javid is an ideal Secretary of State. He's a strong, good, decent, committed man, and very importantly, he has a personal understanding of these issues himself. Finally, black and minority ethnic people in Britain today still face considerable social and economic disadvantage. And dealing with this has to be the start point for any integration policy. Our Equalities and Human Rights Commission, having looked at employment, housing, pay and criminal justice, described the situation as alarming. In their recent report, they referred to long-term systematic unfairness and race inequality. They described the government's race policy as piecemeal and stuttering, and they called for a comprehensive race equality plan. The Commission are highly respected, they're highly regarded. In fact, when I was a minister, they used to report to me. And although I don't disagree with their findings, I have to say that I was disappointed with the recommendations. And I was disappointed because I felt that they just took us round again in yet another circle. We seem to go round and round and round with different visions and reviews and reports and plans and audits, and then we go round again without ever achieving very much. They sound good when they're announced. There's a flurry of media activity for a day, and then it all goes quiet for months. Eventually, there's a launch of yet another report containing recommendations that have been made before, but presented in a slightly different way. People sometimes say to me when they hear me saying this, they say, well, what would you do, Helen? You're moaning about it, but what would you really do? And my answer always has been, and it continues to be, we just need to get on and we need to deal with it with real action. We have good legislation. We've done the surveys. We've got loads of data. We know exactly what we need to do. We just need genuine political will, genuine leadership, and a little bit of money. But I also think we need, as a group, to come together much more. We need to mobilise so that we can move as a pack if we need to. You should know me, all of you in this room, and I should know you. We should be helping each other. We should be supporting each other. And we need to do that. And it really does need to start today. I'm going to say no more now because my throat is going. We've got a very, very important award to make. But again, it's been an honour and a pleasure to talk to you tonight. And thank you so much for listening.
I'm just going to talk about Paul Stephenson in 5 minutes. I met him last year here in this room at the commemorations of the 50th anniversary of the Race Relations Act. And that was the first time I learned about Paul's activism in the early 60s that helped enact the Race Relations Act. I have been in community relations for over a quarter of a century, including some race relations work I did at the CRE, the Commission for Racial Equality. And so I was surprised that I had never come across his name at all. I was intrigued, and so I decided to go and visit him in Bristol and hear his full story. Paul's main struggle was against the Bristol Bus Company, whose employment policy openly barred black and ethnic minorities from working there. So in 1963, Paul led a boycott of the Bristol buses for 60 days until finally the bus company relented and later employed its first non-white bus conductor, an Asian, Raghbir Singh. That was a major victory for Paul. Apparently, the day the Bristol Bus Company lifted the colour ban, 28th of August 1963, was also the day Martin Luther King made his famous inspirational speech, "I have a dream." Those were the years when posters displaying signs of no blacks, no Irish, no dogs were not uncommon. And in 1964, Paul Stephenson got arrested for taking too long to finish his half pint of beer in a Bristol pub. He was, however, later acquitted of that. But all this activism against racial discrimination resulted in the Race Relations Act of 1965. Coincidentally, in America, thanks to Martin Luther King's civil rights movement, the Voting Rights Act also came into force in 1965, which allowed blacks a vote for the first time there. Whilst Martin Luther King has rightly earned his place in world history, it seems to me Paul Stephenson's name has been overlooked. And this is my point. It's been whitewashed from British history. Yes, there are a few skirmishes, you see a few video clips here and there, but it's nothing much. We need Paul Stevenson's name in history for people to understand and identify with the struggles of that first ever British black movement. It's always the first movements which are significant when we write laws on a blank canvas. Sure, later the laws are tweaked and developed, and today, as a result, one of the key British values we enjoy and which Britain can be proud of is diversity. But we are still in the throes of a glass ceiling at corporate levels, and there's much room for improvement to be had at the political level. Post-Brexit showed us how political campaigns can so easily turn people's emotions into hating rather than loving their neighbors. Humanity is moved by the struggles of fellow humans, and not so much, or rather not in a similar spirit, by the administrative outcomes, like in this case the Race Relations Act. Of course, those outcomes matter in reality, but it's the struggles behind them that move our hearts to do more, and this is why we need to remember those struggles, as we do for Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. Of course, each struggle is different, and Paul Stevenson's struggle of the early 60s needs its rightful place in British history, in British school books. Learning about such struggles in our own history would make us stronger. It will ward off the negative spins which Helen just talked about, of political campaigns which are becoming a new phenomenon in winning votes. Even if people feel a sense of shame in that rather ugly past, then at least they would not want to see a repeat of it. They would want to hold on to what has been achieved already and avoid falling into the same trap, because they know it's a no-win situation. This is why we need Paul Stevenson's name rightfully placed in British history, which can only be good for our society in the long term, and I commend it so. Thank you.
Please can I invite Helen to come up to present a small trophy to Paul for a lifetime of achievement in diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Well, it's a great honour to give you this. It's a great honour to meet you tonight. And thank you for absolutely everything. It helps so much. You really are a giant. You really stood on your shoulders. May I give you a little kiss?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bless you. Thank you.
Can we just look that way to get some photographs?
Thank you.